So first of all, thank you to Koei Tecmo for providing a copy of the game for this review. I was just gonna get some gameplay recorded through some online lobbies, but it turns out lobbies won't be available until a later update in March. Yes, online lobbies are not in the game at launch. This is a good precursor to the review. Dead or Alive 6 features some really good features I wish were in other fighting games, but it lacks in some fundamental aspects and is guilty of padding the single player experience when it comes to unlocking stuff. And I want to review and show off the things I would want to know when I look up reviews of a fighting game. I'm aware that Dead or Alive fans know what's what, so I'm going to focus on what new people of the series might be looking to hear, but I am going to talk a bit about how customization works in this game, so stick around for that. But like I said, I'm going to focus on the things new people might want to hear, like for example, is this game good for the youth? Don't worry, you are given an option to turn off the violence. Anyways, look at this costume. Dead or Alive is a 3D fighter with both A-way movement and sidestepping. The game features a unique hold system, which is where you can counter a move if you can predict it coming with a direction and the hold button. Just pressing hold without any direction will just block for you, so you have two ways of blocking in this game. You can press hold, or you can hold back. I think it's a relatively easy game to pick up. There aren't really any complex motions, and there's not much more outside of quarter circles or half circles or things like that. Some moves have a lot of hit stun, also known as critical stun, and these are clear combo starters, but coming from like Tekken or Soul Calibur, combos feel a bit slower. Though this might also just be certain characters, as Kasumi, for example, feels really fast. So some example of new mechanics to Dead or Alive 6, you have the break and fatal mechanics, such as Fatal Rush, which is a simple stylish combo, and also Fatal Stun, which is universally caused by the first hit of your S combo. And then there is the break meter. This fills up upon landing hits, taking hits, and blocking. And if you add the meter for it, executing a Fatal Rush combo can end in a special attack. A real quick quality of life thing I like about this game is the ability to choose which characters and stages random select will give you. God, I wish every other fighting game did this on top of the other quality of life changes I'm going to talk about later that Dead or Alive does. So a real quick thing for the people that have fight sticks. Some modes, such as tutorial, the training stuff outside of free training, and combo challenge, use L3 and R3 for shortcuts. So not everything is fight stick friendly if you lack those buttons. So now let's talk the single player content and story. Starting with the story mode, it is a hybrid general story plus individual character stories. This general story follows Kasumi, Hayate, and Ayane, and progress of the general story unlocks more of the character stories as you go along. Story isn't my priority with fighting games normally, so I haven't finished it or am focusing on it. However, for a fighting game story mode, it's serviceable and you know what you would expect. I think if you play fighting games for their story modes, yeah, you're gonna find a lot here. Outside of the story mode, there are DOA quests. There are 100 of these basically short scenario fights with different kinds of matches. Each quest has 3 objectives and fulfilling all 3 grants you a lot of random costume points. We'll talk about costume points in just a minute. Then there's arcade mode, which you know what it is, though it did make me realize how long loading times were in this game. And then there's survival mode, which has no load times once started, and the next character just loads in where the last one was KO'd. Then you have time trial mode, which is basically survival mode with load screens. And now we can talk about tutorials. There is a basic tutorial on the game's first startup, and you can find it again on the main menu. It's basic and it makes you aware of your buttons. The actual tutorial mode, though, is pretty extensive and offers a lot of text to read about each option. It is an apt resource for covering every mechanic in the game. On top of covering all the mechanics, it also covers each individual character. And then there is command training, which takes you through each character's command list. You can't play out commands like in Tekken or Soul Calibur right from free training, so this is a good resource if you want to learn just what the character is capable of. And then to go even further off that are combo challenges with each character. Normally these combo challenge things aren't like normally viable combos, but they do give you an idea of your character's fundamental capabilities. Next topic is the online, or should I just say online ranked, because there's only online ranked. As far as ranked mode goes though, you're actually able to tell if your opponent is on Wi-Fi or not, and that's so nice. I get why other fighting games don't do this, but I really wish they did anyways. You can also set the matchmaking to not match you against players you've recently played. I faced this issue in quite a number of fighting games, so seeing this option here is really nice. I'm pretty stingy on netcode, and I gotta say I think this one is pretty good despite being delay based. There's 2 types of currencies in the game. We'll start with the generic in-game currency, and this is used to buy some titles, glasses, and hairstyles. And then you have costumes. Each individual costume requires a certain amount of costume points to buy for that respective costume. Costume points for each one are distributed at random. Each arcade victory rewards a minuscule amount of point towards one random costume. Costumes can require 100 to 1000 points. So this determines the incentive and replayability of certain modes. DOA Quest seems to be the most efficient way possible to get costume points, as it gives you a few hundred for fulfilling all 3 quest objectives. I feel that DOA Quest is so efficient you might as well never touch Arcade Time Trial or Survival because of it. Those modes are more to serve as like something to do while you're waiting for a ranked match. Regardless, I think this system goes a little too far. I'm not a big fan of how random this is. For example, let's say I clear a fight in arcade mode with Nico, I will be rewarded a minuscule amount of points for one random costume in the game that might not even be for Nico. But as I said, as far as I can tell, DOA Quest is the most efficient way to get costume points. Also, regardless, the DLC costumes seem to be the fan service ones, so I just feel it's a bit unnecessarily padded. These are the kind of practices that arise from gacha games or a game like Warframe. The difference being that those games are free to play and that is how they make their money, and I don't believe you can buy this in-game currency or costume point currency in Dead or Alive 6 with real money anyways. So yeah, the big concern is just that it's a padded way to extend how long you play the game if you want to get a certain costume. And I mean, it's a fighting game, you have a main, you probably are gonna want to get a specific costume. Moving on from that though, let's talk graphics and performance. It's a really pretty game. What you've seen in this video so far is the PS4 Pro version with super sampling and boost enabled. There's a plethora of visual options such as hit effects, dirt, water and sweat, violence and softness can all be turned off or on. I think I'm letting the UI and visuals through this whole video speak for themselves, but if you haven't been aware, this is a fan service series. And I'm gonna be honest with you, when Dead or Alive 6 was first announced, there was this push that it wanted to go less fan service and more mature esports. I think they flipped around and done a 180 on that and delivered more on fan service as, Kasumi's costume is still in the game, but I don't know if it's necessarily too bad from some other fighting games that are out there. Regardless though, if you want fan service, hey, you've got it. Anyways, the game also has graphics quality options too. I don't know if this is available in the PS4 standard version, but here it is on the Pro. You have the option to prioritize action, which means 60 FPS consistently, or prioritize graphics for better visuals. Here's a quick comparison between the two. Load times can also be pretty awful, and like I said, I first noticed this with the time between arcade matches, and on screen right now will be the average time I found between loading screens. And again, this is on PS4 Pro with the stock hard drive the PS4 Pro comes with boost mode on. Now let's move on to the music and audio, and I think the music's pretty solid. Take a listen to some examples. Hold up, doesn't this main menu theme sound familiar? The game is, of course, dual audio, but there is no option for per character voices. And another one of those quality of life features I like is that you can actually set the music for menus and characters individually. Granted, you've got to unlock music, but that's still a really cool feature. And so to conclude, the core game itself seems pretty fine and you have plenty of learning tools to learn, and if you don't have a local scene, you'll depend on ranked matchmaking. Single player content is present, but the grind is overkill. Music and visuals are good though. You're gonna have to weigh if the game is worth it for you, and if you're down for the content grind and no way to play with friends at launch for $60, and speaking of prices, while the base game is $60, Deluxe Edition is $80, and the season pass for the game is $93. So if you're someone that's playing for the fan service, you've either got to play a lot or you got to pay a lot. And with that, I will leave it at your discretion as to what you think about Dead or Alive 6. Let me know in the comments what you think of the game. In the meantime, you may see more Dead or Alive 6 on the channel shortly, and if not, I have other fighting game content I've done on the channel, so check that out too. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.